Hey there, here at Future Summit with Dennis. Dennis just stepped off the stage talking about deserts. Tell us more about this.
Well, I'm not really talking about deserts, but I'm talking about ecosystems that are slowly becoming deserts. And if we could be an astronaut, only a few people in the world can have this experience. You see a precious little blue planet, and most of it is water, of course. So 70% is water and oceans, and we only have 30% land mass on our planet. The 30% land mass is not that much, and more than 50% is totally degraded. So I think, and I believe, that one of the bigger challenges of humanity is to make sure that we have lush, fertile land again in order to serve the few more billion people that are knocking on our door. And so I'm here to talk about the importance of healthy ecosystems. Because normally people are talking about economy and money, etc. And my statement is that you can never have a healthy economy without a healthy ecology. Wow. And I think that we are in a huge awakening, because suddenly there is this feeling of, oh, we need to take care of Mother Nature in order to take care of ourselves. Yeah. But I think the awakening should be wider, and there needs to be more urgency, because there is no time to lose, because frightening scenarios are knocking on our door, especially related to my work. I come from Europe. We are active in Africa. Africa is a huge continent, 55 countries. Out of the 55, 30%, out of the 55, 30 countries are facing serious land degradation issues, desertification issues, and that affects the food security and water scarcity, and that affects the people who live there. And the future on Africa, related to Europe, doesn't look that hopeful. Africa has now 1.3 billion people, and it will double in 30 years to 2.6 billion people, and then it will continue to grow to 4.3 billion in 2100, and then it's by far the biggest continent on the planet, and millions of people from Africa will come to Europe because of having no food, no water, etc. And that I'm gonna, or already I shared it on stage. Yeah. So the connection between Africa and Europe, and how we need to be helpful to Africa in many ways, whether it's philanthropic, business-wise, it doesn't matter. We need to help Africa in order also to help ourselves, and we are very much connected. So regreening, I think, is a hot topic.
Wow. So this is totally new for me. I love it. It's probably totally new for most people. You're an leading expert on it.
I'm not really an expert, because I work with experts, but over the years I learned quite a lot about it. Yeah. And here we are at the Future Summit talking about, of course, almost sort of science fiction, artificial intelligence, innovation, etc. Yeah. And my statement is that, you know, we live in a world today that if the solution is not complicated enough, it cannot be a solution. And I'm showing that low-tech, wisdom techniques that have been here for a few thousand years can be a big solution to bring our planet back in balance.
Wow. So what does that look like? Regreening, you said, and maybe a preventative standpoint, looking at Africa. What can actually be done?
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what I just said, low tech and wisdom. So, first of all, when I came into this world, I was not even aware that we could restore Mother Nature. I'm from an era, we heard only about conservation of nature. And 10 years ago, I met someone who was doing restoration work for 2 decades. He became my partner, and I was amazed. So I decided to be helpful to him, and unfortunately, he passed away, but we are sort of building on his legacy. The fundament of our work, in order to transform dry lands into green, lush fields again, is to harvest the rain that's still coming down on our planet. And when we talk about Africa, most of the people think that there is hardly any rain in Africa. And that is a misconception. Wow. So, an example, Kenya or the Netherlands Kenya 635 millimeter rain per year, the Netherlands 785 millimeter rain per year. So that's not really a big difference. But in Kenya it comes maybe twice a year, relatively short, and when it comes it's like pouring down, billions of liters of water coming down. And my former partner said we need to focus on the water that comes down freely from heaven, and we should manage it because of massive deforestation, overgrazing, monocultivation, etc. So many places in the world, specifically Africa, but also your country, the soil is like concrete. So when the rain comes down, it's not able to penetrate into the ground anymore. It creates flooding. It destructs infrastructure and even vanishes more fertile land. So if you manage the rainwater to bring it subsurface, which is not irrigation, but it's infiltration, and those techniques are 7,000-8,000 years old, you can do an automatic way of reforestation because plenty of rain is still coming. When you open up the soil, you have various techniques. You make sure that the earth is able to absorb the water, and as soon as the water is subsurface, it also runs because water always will find its way downwards. And if you bring back rain at large scale, the water at large scale underneath the soil, you just kickstart Mother Nature back to green, and that's the fundament of our work. And then we do reforestation, and we're also there to do agri-reforestation, and hopefully we will implement the most high-tech, innovative, new coming up solutions from the future ecologists, because we need it. So the low-tech is the fundament, and hopefully soon we have the ultimate high-tech sort of solutions to make it complementary to one another.
Very cool. As you think about entrepreneurship and business opportunities there, is there a for-profit opportunity there? If there was capital, if there was a will, if there was an entrepreneur that says there's an opportunity here, is there a way to do this and in alignment with a business?
Of course, because if you have green lush fields again, that's the start of maybe starting a profitable business.
Okay.
But restoration takes time. So I think that over the last 50, 60 years, we behave like a bunch of grasshoppers, just taking everything from Mother Earth that's there without thinking, and now we are in a way like, whoa, we need to be careful because we are completely out of balance. So to do the restoration, you cannot restore Mother Nature in 10 years, not even in 20 years, especially when we have been so destructive for 50, 100 years. But there's no time to lose. So I'm not talking to a lot of people for money, of course. And always there is this business model that needs to come up. And of course it's important because you need, in the long term, you need to be sustainable. But in the long term, it is possible. But there's so much urgency now that my statement is, forget the model, bring us the money. It's ecosystem payback time. We need to make sure that she is in balance. And then later, and we already did some project in Kenya that became very successful, also with profit. So we implemented grass seed banks that earned money like $4,000 per year already in a very short notice.
And that's really quite large for a Kenyan entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Great. Well, that's incredible. When you said, not 10, not 20 years, how many years would you see? I mean, if you got a plot of land in Africa and you could have your way and you had the financing, what would it take? I mean, you mentioned 50 to 100 years of damage. What would it take to see it?
It can go really quick. I've seen it with my own eyes. But our higher objective is to try to tweak the climate in a positive way. So my former partner, he was a rainmaker. Sounds very abstract, but he taught me that you really can create rain. And how can you do that? That is by restoring the small water cycle. So, and that's our higher ambition. But the beauty is that if you manage the rainwater and you do sort of reforestation techniques, you can see already the difference quite soon. You can see it even within a few months. But if it it's not going to rain for a few years, then we have the same problem again. So it's a sort of a chicken and egg story, but we are there to bring back large-scale vegetation in order to create the evapotranspiration and hopefully create clouds, and out of the clouds will come rain again. And if you talk about the climate perspective, at least 20-25 years before you can show some proof of positive climate change.
Awesome. Dennis, I always ask everybody the last question. It's a bit of a ringer. When you hear the word good, what is good to you?
What is good to me? Wow, that's a funny question. Well, let me say this. I decided 20 years ago to try to do something good, because I learned that working for money and for profit is not really interesting for me. I wanted to become a change maker, and for many reasons. And doing good also feels good.
That's right.
So the fulfillment and the satisfaction I get for doing something good, I can promote that and would like to share to the whole world, do something good because it feels good. And by the way, I believe we just entered the purpose revolution. So we had the digital one, and now something new is coming, and that is perfectly on time, hopefully, which is the purpose revolution driven by the Sustainable Development Goal agenda. And now, we have so many conversations with big corporates and also smaller companies and even individuals. Everyone is now looking for purpose because we are in awakening, and we need to take care of ourselves. So doing good will become hopefully mainstream soon.
Amen, man. That's some wisdom and some bombs right there. I appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, perspective with us. And I think the legacy of your business partner is living on. You're carrying that on.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm encouraged by what you guys are doing and the way you see Africa and the potential there. Yeah. So thank you for being with us today. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Dennis.
Have a good day.